All right, another edition of the Florida Daily Show. And of course, Lindsay Randall, Matt O'Hearn. One of the stories we had come out this week, I got to get a little deep dive on education. And it won't bore any of you out there, but we talked about this on my radio show. And if I may be all over the map on this one, so bear with me for a second. Michael Herodopoulos, Matt, you remember Mike. Mike is a current congressman, Republican in the Bill Posey Space Coast Area District. When I was taking history courses at Eastern State Community College, I took some, economic courses, business courses that was being offered at UCF as well. So Mike was my history teacher. And I think Mike was actually a better history teacher than he's a congressman. I like Mike. So I'm saying that mostly in jest, not as a put down. I like him and his wife, Stephanie. But when Mike was teaching one of the courses like the Great Depression, what caused the Great Depression? The collapse of the money supply. All the liberal kids in the classroom, it was Reaganomics with Calvin Coolidge and all
Smoot-Hawley tariffs.
Yeah, Smoot-Hawley tariff. Yeah, tariffs as well. And one of the things was, Herbert Hoover also passed a major retroactive huge tax increase on like 40 different taxes. I mean, you ought to look up all the taxes Herbert Hoover passed. And so that also and by the way, and when Roosevelt got in, he actually made things worse. That's what Democrats never tell you. But anyway, Mike was a good teacher. Mike is a conservative Republican for the most part, and he laid it out like I lay out certain things on the radio show. Here's what my side, the conservative aisle, is saying. Here's what the left is saying. I normally will go along with the right, but sometimes those on my side aren't always correct. But anyway, it is what it is. So I thought he did a good job, and he made it balanced. I don't know, or I don't want to know what all the politics of my teachers are. I think it speaks well if one was a leftist and was able to look like a moderate here, Lindsay. That speaks volumes. But I want you to talk about an issue in history or whatever and stick to the history. Where I'm getting at is we have a story out this week, Gallup, which does these surveys every year on whatever, religion in America and the loss of confidence, the loss of trust, or the loss of faith and government institutions and America institutions. Okay.
And they've all been dropping.
Right. Like higher ed, which is colleges and universities. And the numbers showed in 2015, that number was at 57%. That's Republicans, independents, and Democrats. Today, it's at 38%. I think it's 37, 38. It's below water. And in fact, Democrats who love government spending, who love tax dollars going to schools, their numbers actually declined by 10%. It's like barely now 50% that have faith in higher education. And the top three issues that people said, hey, this is where we're not impressed with the college education. The third one was, well, we don't think that these grads are ready for the real world. Pretty much is what it said. Number two, cost. Number one, barely, but it was number one, Lindsay, politics being taught in the classroom. Now, I don't mind politics. I think politics should be taught. I don't want it one-sided like the social justice people. And evidently, that's what the biggest complaint about many people think. Lindsay, there's too much political bias going on. And this is the college classroom, by the way.
Right. Well, it's so tiresome. I mean, it's like they're beating a dead horse. It's like, oh my goodness. Of course, when you go to college, they want to just pump your brain full of mush and make you just a lemming at the end of the day. However, I do think that people are waking up to realize that education shouldn't be, based on politics and shouldn't be political. You should be objective, as a teacher, as an instructor, and really get your students to think and ponder and express themselves.
Matt, and hold on, Matt, where did you go to college?
I went to Stanford University. My wife went to UF.
Okay,
nobody's perfect.
So. No, I would, Matt.
I have to give UF credit. I have to give UF credit because they've done a lot with that new department.
Okay, they're trying. Matt, bear with me. You're in journalism, right?
Yes.
Where we have a lot of liberals in our field. Me and you both took, journalism. We have a lot of liberals in our field. I actually became more conservative as a reporter. But when you took journalism courses, and Matt, forgive me, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I went to a conservative college, but my professors were all liberal.
No way. Hold on, back up.
Yeah.
They were liberal at a conservative college?
Oh, yeah. And my political science professors were as well. Well, that's one of the reasons I did actually like Samford was because even though it's known as a very conservative, mostly Baptist school, the staff
that was your problem
encourages
right there.
dialogue. It's known as a school where you go into that class and the professors don't just do a monologue lecture. They each session have a continuous dialogue with the students. So, I would go back and forth. My professors loved me because I would go back and forth with them all the time.
Right.
Iraq war was going on.
How did who hired those guys? How'd you have liberals at a Baptist college?
That's just how it is. I mean, in academia, I don't know if you're aware of this. One of my brothers is he's actually head of undergraduate admissions at Yale, and he also is the chair of the physics department.
Dang.
So when you were talking about students who feel like they're going in and paying too much money, what's interesting is he has a unique perspective because Yale's, along with other Ivy League schools, trying to get rid of the tuition for undergrads because they have enough endowment.
Well, hold on.
The other thing is he's in the applied sciences part of physics, not just theory. And what you're going to see is more and more students are going to say, why am I going in for these areas of theory and philosophy? I need to go into what's going to get me a job this moment I'm done with school.
So let me wait a second. Get back to this here. When you talk to him, and I'm not talking about the political talking heads, your brother, right?
He's actually more conservative than me.
Okay, but your brother works, but is he an honest guy? I mean, like the whole George Floyd social justice thing really grew up with this whole thing about the left moving and trying to dig over more of the curriculums at the college level.
Yeah.
But is he? I'm not saying this I'm not trying to talk ill. I'm just asking, is he a pretty honest guy that if you asked him, like, is this really this rampant? I mean, you would figure among Columbia and Harvard. Is it really this rampant in many of our, like, I don't hear much, the UF guys tell me it really doesn't exist, or the FSU guys, but is there really this much rampant liberalism in the classroom at many of these universities, like here in Florida?
If you look at the surveys across the country, including Florida, most of the faculty will say they've never voted Republican or donated Republican.
I get it, but I'm saying, hold on, I get that, but I'm saying, are they teaching a bunch of souls? Or is it
the department?
Okay, I was going to say, because I know a lot of groups in in Florida, you don't hear as much as like you heard in California. So that's why I was asking if it's that.
And my brother never has to get into that because of the field that he's in applied science and physics. It never really comes up. But I'm sure if you were to go into political science class at Yale, even though Ron DeSantis went there, there's always exceptions to the rule, right? And you're going to, I'm sure, run into mostly left-wing.
I want to get back to the whole education thing here, Lindsay, but Matt said the exception to the rule. I've got many PR agents reach out to me to come on my radio show, and I've gotten to know some of them. They all used to be producers for Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. Matt, I don't know if I ever told you the story, but Lindsay, I talked about this on the air last week. I've had more PR groups, I'm talking individuals that now have their own. They worked for MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. And guess which group was the most liberal out there of all the producers? Fox. And I'm a Fox guy. Because a lot of people were just, again, the role of the producer is just to get people on the air, not their own political perspective. But
Fox gave up conservatism a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I like Fox, but let me ask.
I would agree, Matt.
Lindsay, let me ask this question. When I hear about young kids, socialism, social justice, when I've done many like debates at college level, and I love having the debates back and forth, and I always tell hey, people, it's just we're having a good time. I mean, they always like look at the left like they're intolerant, like they want to take a swing at you. They look at you like you support 1860s and 1880s and Jim Crow, and you're from the South and the war. I'm like, no, guys, really? They think because you like states' rights or whatever that you're part of the racist problem. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, this is what I'm getting at. Is they're going to college, and within their first 6 months. To me, there's like no flipping way they became this liberal within the first 6 months of college, which means they either had to get turned to the left, either by parents or in a high school level. Lindsay, you're successful on the education level. You've run these charter schools. Where are these kids getting liberalized? Or are they just all getting indoctrinated at the college level? Because I've seen them go in the first few months, and they're already filthy liberals out there, dude, on this. So where are they getting indoctrinated at?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be just the college level, and then it got younger and younger and younger and younger. If you think about the public school system and even a lot of private schools, we think that our children are fine if they're in Christian private schools, but that is just not true at all.
Yeah, so they just pointed that point out of the Baptist school there. But
yeah, exactly. You think, oh my gosh, well, I don't have to be as worried. No, that is not true at all. So your 13 years in school, kindergarten through 12th grade, is so perfect for all of that. So when we're not teaching, especially in history, we don't teach about, learning with original sources, which we do in classical education. We really want to know what the founders thought, who the people really were, not just what was written about it, but actually reading about what they wrote and reading about what they said and understanding the culture and the society of that time. So I think that is really a problem. And also, we aren't thoughtful people anymore. We have these stupid things called iPhones and Androids, and so we get we get a lot of information very quickly. We're not willing to say, and I'm definitely in this camp too. I'm not willing to put in the extra effort to go the extra mile to actually really dig into some of this stuff. I just knee jerk, like, okay, I see this, I consume it, and then
that's where you bring in AI to help you out on that stuff.
Yeah, but that could be a huge bias as well. So I'm just saying, like, having somebody that can be thoughtful, and that's what's really interesting about this Gallup poll is that, with the George Floyd thing and, all the COVID stuff, I think that really opened up a Pandora's box where people started to really wake up. I've been screaming about this from the mountaintops for years before. I said, listen, your kids aren't safe in these schools. They're not safe. They're not being taught virtue, etc. And so I think this is really hopeful for the trajectory of the country, and that people really are becoming aware that either one, I don't want my child to be indoctrinated right or left.
I think if you look
stick to the curriculum.
Exactly.
I think if you look at the Charlie Kirk stuff, that's a great point of all these kids coming up wanting to debate him, and they just, I'm a first year freshman. How do you come up with these far left views in your first year freshman?
Right.
And you got to look at some other factors too that I don't think a lot of people consider. And culture follows institutions. So if you look even at the churches that some of these schools were founded with, Duke used to be very conservative. Half my family went there. Used to graduate and they'd hand you a Bible with your degree. Okay, they still have the chapel there, but now that chapel is any religion can be there. And just like the Methodist Church, it's become very liberal with.
They've allowed the heathens in, right, man?
There's still plenty of conservative Christians that also go there, and then you look at Wake Forest, very similar thing. Used to be very Southern Baptist. It's relaxed a lot. Yeah. It's no longer considered a Christian school. Baylor, another one. Furman, another one. Samford's still mostly Christian conservative, but a lot of these Christian colleges have been. And I gotta tell you one really close here.
Oh gosh,
it's called Trinity Prep, the high school and middle school. Well, it's called Trinity Prep, but you look at the board, and it's not even all Christian anymore. So Trinity, and your board doesn't even. Some of your board doesn't even believe in the Trinity. So that just kind of, and so what's the fallout going to be from that? The fallout is going to be, now that they're going on to these other colleges where that's also drifted, the morals, aren't there.
I've never understood the left. They always hate school choice on a public education school level, but somehow they stop at the collegiate level. Like, I can take a GI Bill, taxpayer dollars, and go to Georgetown University and learn to become a priest or whatever. I mean, and nobody says anything about that. I've never understood this, Lindsay. Oh my gosh, you're going to burn if you have taxpayer vouchers, go to private schools. But yet we can use taxpayer dollars to send, and which I supported the GI Bill. I'm just saying is we would support government funding for this stuff for them to go learn, become a theologian.
Going to seminary.
At one of these schools. I've never understood their mentality where it's like it stops at the river's edge. Why did it stop at the university? So that's just another thing. So, but I wanted to bring up this poll. I'm just sitting here going, okay, these kids are becoming liberals before they get into colleges.
Absolutely.
And it's either, we're here in Florida, either there's a curriculum out there they're being taught, or they're hanging out at a coffee meeting at Starbucks, no stereotype, or their parents.
It doesn't matter about, the curriculum matters, obviously, but really, what I've learned throughout my tenure in education is that really it comes down to the people. So you could have the best curriculum in the world. If you don't have the right people that are on mission with your mission, which for us is to sharpen the minds and cultivate the hearts of students, then it's all for naught. It doesn't matter. So you have to really make sure that the people that you're hiring have the worldview that you need for the organization.
And I wanted to add something too. Everything Lindsay just said is right, but I also want to add, if you look at the turn towards some vocational programs, and you look at someone like Mike Rowe, one of those guys who's going out there not just on television, but going into Capitol Hill and saying, look, there's a demand for electricians, there's a demand for plumbers, and you won't have the student debt, and you'll be making a lot more. That combined with the fact that, you know, my son right now, he's 6. I'm telling you right now that in 12 years, I would be just as happy if he decided, you know what, unless he's going to be a doctor or a lawyer, he doesn't see the need to get that college degree, and he decides I can teach myself better with the tools that are available now with technology. I'd rather just take that money and put it towards starting my own business. I think that's going to be the trend that you see. Right. These students, these young people are going to look at the options available and say, why would I go 4 years somewhere if I'm just going to get a degree in communications when that's all going to be outdated by the time I even get in that classroom, and what I can teach myself online is already ahead of that. That's where I really think
things are going to replace other things. I'm with you. Well, this was a good discussion. This was good. I love talking about education. I'm just still trying to find out a silver bullet where all these kids are learning to become liberals. If they're not learning in college, they've got to do it somewhere. And
Ed Moore's a good one to talk to you about this as well. He has so much experience.
I know. He's got some experience. But all right, the Florida Daily Show right here on FloridaDaily.com. We'll see you all next time right here.